Hey, you little dead poops. I want to talk about Marble card values and COMC. And is COMC a good spot to find value? What does value mean when we talk about value? Let me share my screen so you guys aren't just looking at my ugly face. How do I do this? Entire screen. Boom. No, I wonder what you guys can see. I have no idea really, but let's go with this. So I hear people talk about value all the time, and you hear everything from, value is what someone's willing to pay for it, which yes is true, but I also think that's a cop out. I could pay $100 for a bottle of water, and does it mean that bottle of water is worth $100? No, just means that I'm willing to pay that at a particular period of time. If I'm stuck in the desert, haven't had water for 3 days, you offer me a bottle of water, you bet your butt I'm going to give you all my Deadpool cards and a $500 bill and maybe a Bitcoin for that bottle of water. Doesn't mean it's worth it. I definitely overpaid. And, if I was a fireman and I played with water all day long and had my fill, maybe I'd give you 25 cents for a bottle of water. Maybe I wouldn't even want it. So value is not what someone is willing to pay for it, although I understand the sentiment. When I talk about value, I want to talk about liquid value. What is the price that I can pay and feel comfortable that at any period of time, I'll be able to sell that card and get at least what I paid out of it? So how do you figure out liquid value? I think the best way to do that is to look at auction sales. I think if you can, then you should always incorporate private sales as well. We want to use all the data points possible to curate and calculate value. So if you have those, great, add those into your algorithm. Oftentimes, we're not going to have access to that private data. It's one of the things that I think is stunting Marble card growth. For some reason, a lot of people want to keep that information private, which I understand. But if we're talking about building a community, I think we need to embrace the mentality of making that type of information publicized whenever possible. There are some groups out there that are doing that, where you have to have public negotiations, which I think is fantastic. And you're encouraged to post that ultimate sales price, which I think is fantastic. Wish those groups were made public as opposed to privatized, but that's I digress. So when we talk about value here today, I am defining value as liquid value, meaning a price point that I can feel confident that any day of the week I can get my money back out of. I'm not looking for that 1 in a million collector that's been waiting 17 years for this particular card to pop up in a certain condition. I'm talking about Monday through Sunday. I can list this card on a variety of channels and expect to get what I paid for out of it. So that's how I'm defining value. And I want to standardize a process that allows us to readily identify within 10% or so what that actual liquid value is. We're going to do that over a series of videos and conversations, but for today, we'll start with COMC. COMC is great. Hopefully you guys can see COMC here on my screen. But COMC isn't always great at providing liquid value. These cards, they're all sitting here. You can buy them. They're sitting here because they're overpriced, quite frankly. COMC is typically, say, standard rule of thumb. COMC prices are priced 2x what the card's actual liquid value is. So I want to use some examples here to point that out, see if we can identify perhaps a standard percentage. that COMC increases the cards that are sitting here, and then perhaps apply that to all cards across the board. It's not going to be perfect, but kind of a starting point. Most of the time, well, I think almost in every instance that I've paid for a card through the buy it now price, whether or not on COMC, private sale, I've overpaid. Buying cards at auction really is your best bet, but you got to be patient. You got to be willing to lose the card. Sometimes you're waiting, months. Sometimes there's still cards that I haven't seen pop up since I've been collecting. But patience pays off. So let's look at this 2013 Fleer Retro Red PMG, priced at $2,200. If you log in, I think you get 10-15% discount. So this is really priced around $2,000. If we go to 130 point, this is a great way of looking up past sales of cards. Let's see if it will calculate here. So we see a PSA 7 sold for $547. This is a steal of a deal, by the way. Really wish I would have bought this, quite frankly. But that is 25% of what this raw card is listed for on COMC. Raw cards are typically considered to be the same value as a PSA 7 anyways. Anything that grades above a PSA 7 should pull, in theory, a bit of a premium. An 8 less of a premium than a 9, less of a premium than a 10. So we see here that actual real world value of a red is at least 75% less than what we're seeing here on COMC. Let's see if we can find another example. Now we're seeing a blue for almost half the price of what the red is priced at on COMC. Just speaks to the overpriced nature. Here's another blue PSA 7 for $902. That is such a steal of a deal. We're also going to notice golden versus eBay prices. Now these aren't apples to apples because this is a BGS 9 versus a PSA 7. But something I've noticed and will continue to make videos displaying is that if you want to sell your cards for, well, how should I phrase this? If you want to maximize the value of your cards, list them on eBay. Don't list them on Golden. Don't list them on Heritage. eBay, every single time, is going to bring you the most for your cards. Apples to apples comparison, card for card, grade for grade. We can look at so many examples and see that eBay consistently, almost every single time, is going to bring you more than listing your cards on Golden or on Heritage or on any other auction site for that matter. I digress. Let's see if we can find a red here. So here we have a PSA 8 red sold for $1,230, including buyer's premium. Again, about half of what we're seeing listed on COMC. Let's go to another example. These medallions just came out. Let's check out the 2023 medallion green. Ooh, what was this green? 11,000. Man, you don't see those pop up very often. I think that would have been before my time. And I don't have $10,000 to spend on a card, unfortunately. Or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. All right, 2013. We want to be as concise with these searches as possible to bring back the maximum number of results. And hopefully something pops up here. I think I saw one of these sell on eBay for about $900, if I remember correctly. Let's see. We got the red going for $280. Is this the green? Yeah, here's the green, $920. And what was it on COMC here. 1900. So again, about 50% actual liquid value. Let's check out, hey, recognize this guy? Love that. It's another good one to look at. These jambalayas, and there seems to be some interesting pricing around jambalayas. I think this will be a good one to look at because we can also look at the Wolverine jambalaya here. It is thought, no one really knows, but it's guesstimated there's about 100 of these 2017 Deadpool jambalayas and about 100 of these 2023 Fleer Ultra Wolverine jambalayas. Let's start with the 2017 jambalaya. Obviously, or maybe not so obviously, traditionally when we're assigning value to cards, the age of the set is going to play a factor in the value of that card. So theoretically, a 2017 jambalaya should be more valuable than a 2024 jambalaya because there's the same amount of both of those cards, but the 2017 is obviously older, therefore harder to find, therefore more of them are sucked up in black hole collections, less likely to come to auction theoretically. So all these things should indicate a higher ask price for the 2017 jambalaya versus the 2024 jambalaya. I've seen a couple of other sales for this card too, but we can see that it's selling about $200, $220, which is about a quarter of the price that we see on COMC. So now we're starting to notice a trend, right? That COMC is pretty significantly overpriced typically. But now let's look at 2023 jambalaya. And we are going to notice a pretty odd discrepancy. In that these are selling for almost twice as much as the 2017 jambalayas. 390, 500, 405, 315, a little more reasonable, 365. But why? I mean, really, that should be the question we should be asking. These are brand new cards. Theoretically, as far as we know, same rarity. Although these should be easier to find because they're newer. You could argue that the art on this is maybe a little bit better. I guess it kind of depends just on personal preference. I don't know. I think these look a little bit nicer, frankly, than 2017. But does it demand 30%, 50% more value? Not to me. Really, if I'm valuing this card, I would look at the price of 2017 Deadpool jambalayas. Same number, same type of card, apples to apples comparison. Art is similar. And I would say that the 2017 should have a slight premium over this card because this is new. I think what's happening here is typically when a set releases, that first couple months is the most valuable those cards are going to be for a period of time, at least 6 months, a year, sometimes 2 years, at least based on my research. And then after that time period, the card kind of finds its floor value and then will start to rise again. But I still think that people are overpaying for these jambalayas. I think that probably in 6 months, we'll see these prices come down to about 200 and meet the 2017 Deadpool jambalaya prices. But again, the trend continues compared to COMC. We're at least 50%, 2x higher on COMC than we are on eBay sales or auction sales. And again, I think that those eBay auction sales in general, really the best way for us to identify liquid value. We know because of these price points here that if you're paying $315 for a card, $350 for this card, you're going to be able to get that out of it pretty much any day of the week. Although this is a poor example because I do foresee the value of these cards decreasing over the next 6 months until they align up with the 2017 Deadpool jambalayas. but hopefully you get the point. What's another good one to look at here? Oh, I have an idea. They're these. So these are really interesting. This price seems to be in line with what you'll see eBay sell these cards for. These are going for about 100, 120 on eBay. What's interesting is that these autos are out of 74. And so again, when I'm trying to assign liquid value, I want to compare the newest version of the card to an older similar card in an older set. So I'm going to look for a Deadpool auto that's numbered from a previous set. One that comes to mind is, well, it should be here on COMC. These 2017 Fleer Ultra Spider-Man. These are all signed by Kai Cacao, and they're numbered out of 49, as opposed to, 79? 74. So theoretically, this being a newer set, signed by Torian Clark, great artist, a little bit newer at Deadpool, perhaps equally as desirable as Kai. I guess it, again, just depends. Art, very similar, awesome, looks great, both of them. But since this is out of 49 and 6-7 years older of a set, these should be pulling a premium over the newer Deadpool autos that are out of 74 as opposed to 49. Let's see if we can notice that in sales or not. Spoiler, we're not going to be able to, which is interesting, which tells me one of two things. First thing, that perhaps right now these cards are still overpriced compared to their liquid value, meaning the ultimate long-term value of what they'll be 6 months, a year from now. And conversely, maybe these cards, which are selling for $40, $50, are undervalued. I'm still looking for some of these. I've been missing the boat. A lot of them have been up for auction the past couple weeks. I haven't been grabbing them. Probably shouldn't be telling you guys this, but this is what the channel is about. I want to share the information that I have, and if you guys get in there and swipe up those cards before I do, good for you. I think this is what we can learn from doing this type of comparison. We can identify good buying opportunities, and we can identify maybe when we shouldn't be buying certain cards, or what prices we shouldn't be paying for if we want to get in at a price point that we can feel really good about, really confident about moving forward. So let's see here. If we can, Flair of Wolverine, Deadpool auto. Try to be concise with our searches. All right, $68. $45. Okay, all right. 115, 150, and 120. So what's that on average? Maybe we could say 70, $80 on average. Now let's look at 2017. And I think we're going to see, maybe we should change this to Deadpool auto. I think we're going to see a lower average, but they are in fact closer than I had originally thought. So we've got, 70, 35. What's the average on that? About 45, another 38, another 70, average about, probably around 50. So these are actually more comparable, but let's consider two things. This is an older set, 2017 versus 2024. These are out of 49 versus out of 72. And we see the average price about $20 lowers for these cards than for the others. Why is that? don't know. I think that we're noticing two things. One, that these are undervalued today. And two, that these are overvalued. People are still paying more for this card than maybe they should. We could do this all night. I kind of feel weird talking to myself still. Hopefully that dissipates, or maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. But this is the type of thing that I look at when I'm trying to identify liquid value. I want to get in at a price point that I am confident that I can sell my card on a rainy day, get at least the money I spent out of it. I want to get in at a price point that I know that in 6 months, I'm not going to have overpaid by 50%, 100%, 2x, 3x. I want to get in at the price point that I know I'm not paying for kind of new set interest. I'm not paying a premium because it's the latest and greatest thing that's out. I want to look at all other sets, all similar cards that have come out before, use all those data points to really guide me in my decision making, to help me get the best understanding for that card's particular value as possible, so that I can feel really good about the money I'm spending. And when I feel good about the money I'm spending, I think I'm able to enjoy my collection that much more, and I have more money to curate other items. So things to think about. Hope this is helpful. If it's not, go watch CNN. I don't know. See you later.